What's up, internet? I'm George Edward, a photography YouTuber here on YouTube, and recently I went on a trip to Switzerland that was unlike any other. And not meaning it was unlike any other trip to Switzerland, meaning like Switzerland in itself is just unlike any other place I've ever been to. It's so immensely pretty. Like everywhere you look at any point in time, there was just so many lookouts and viewpoints to just soak in. You might be in a small town, but in the distance you'll see snow-covered mountains or just cliffs with waterfalls coming off of them, and everything just felt so grand. It would truly be my recommendation to anyone that thinks that they want to go to Switzerland. So I want to kind of take you through the days. So our travel in was pretty rough. It took a really long time to get there. We had delays getting in. We had missing baggage that we eventually were able to get. So getting to Switzerland was a bit of a pain in the ass. So we were staying in Interlaken, and Interlaken's a small town, very touristy, but it is a really good central hub to get around to all the areas that you would want to go to, especially if you're day tripping a lot, which is what we were doing. So the first day we headed to Lauterbrunnen, and we walked around there and just kind of took it all in. It was raining when we first got there, but within like no time, the sky opened up. It was cloudy, so you had some cloud coverage, but it was really sunny and really, really pretty. So the beginning was just kind of walking in and taking in the town, and we just kind of kept walking further towards a town called Gimmelwald and Murren. And then there's also a tourist site along the way called Trummelbach Falls, which is this huge roaring waterfall that's pummeling down through like the cavities of this mountain. And I've never seen a waterfall before in my life. So seeing something like this and just kind of like the intensity of it was really, really cool. And this is more of like a touristed destination, but definitely worth seeing it just because it's so strong. There's so much power coming through those mountains at any point in time that it's just like, it's insane to look at. Now this is where we can kind of start delving into the photography qualms that I had on this trip. For some of these locations like Trummelbach Falls, like I've never shot anything this dark interior before with like waterfalls kind of running around you. So I really just focus in some of these instances just on taking in the experience and getting video, because I don't know how to really make good photographs out of something like this. And maybe a better photographer than myself would have tried and have been able to, but I really just didn't find myself having that much luck with photography in certain instances here. But that's where I try to just go easy on myself. I try to allow myself to just be a tourist when I wanted to be a tourist and really kind of shift into more of a photography mindset when I was ready to actually make some photos a little bit more seriously. Going back to the touristy stuff though, the waterfalls were awesome. So hopefully shown by the video here, you can just see like the level of intensity that they really brought. There was just so much water running down, and you just have so much water erosion over so many years of this water just continuously falling, and you just realize how strong and perpetual things of this nature are. So after viewing Trummelbach Falls, you can go further away from Lauterbrunnen into a town called Gimmelwald, and then you could take the gondola up to Murren. And so Murren is, this was a really steep gondola. Like you were going at maybe at like a 60-degree angle up, and you were just going straight up. But once we were up there, right, like this is when we first started to be like, oh wow, like we are somewhere very special. You felt a lot of that in the other areas, but now that we were up in the mountains a little bit and looking kind of parallel at them, that's when you could really start to feel the immensity of the landscape that we were in. We just had all of this stuff around us. The air was fresh and brisk, and you're walking and enjoying all these things. Meanwhile, there's just these monstrosities around you. And so absolutely grand. There's a few things I liked in these towns. Like life just kind of existed there as it does. So you'll have people going through their day to day, but instead of commuting to work, they're riding a gondola. Or you have these cats that are up in these areas playing and coming up to you to get pet or to get food. And it's all very normal, but in a situation and in a landscape like that, it just made it extra cool. And so that was pretty much day one. We walked back down, we stopped, we had bread, meat, and cheese. We just kind of had a little picnic. And then we walked our way down and went back to our Airbnb, grabbed dinner, and passed out. For photos specifically on day one, that's where I felt like I had just some trouble. And I didn't necessarily feel it in the moment, which is what sucks because you think you're getting good photos, and then you take them back and you're like, oh, these aren't that great. But you can see that there was just like not a lot of light in the beginning. There wasn't really much of any. So this is just a warm-up shot. There's nothing visually interesting here. I mean, it's cute, but nothing visually interesting. And the same thing for this photo. Like, yes, it's a house with this beautiful rock structure and the waterfall in the background, but without any light on it, for me, it does nothing. This one though, I think is like, okay, this is more in line with like the type of work that I'm used to putting out. I do wish that I looked to my left a little bit more in this image. Like I do think that it could have benefited from inviting a few more of those houses into the frame. And that's where I wish I just was less gun shy. And I wish I was like being more thoughtful and just taking more of an active approach to the compositions that I was putting together. Because it's one thing to recognize that the lighting is not that good, but it's another thing to then try to combat it with very interesting compositions. And I don't think I did that. This one, I wanted the light post in the middle, but it just doesn't have anything really. When we actually went up to Grindelwald and Murren, this is where I felt like I had actually some good looking situations, but you could see that the light is just really, really harsh. I don't know if it's just because of the sun there in combination with being higher up in the mountains, something that I'm just not really used to. But this photo I actually do really like. I do think the house in the green background is kind of the subject just looming over and just kind of peeking at everything else that's going on. I just wish it was further back. And I waited actually for like 5 to 10 minutes to get this photo because there's so many people around. But if I took a step back and waited a little bit longer and I got a little bit more of the foreground of the sidewalk in the scene, I just do think it would have given it some more space that I think would have benefited this image. So again, that's one of those things you live and you learn. Like I'll never be there again, most likely. So it's a miss. It could have been better, but these purposes, I guess it's okay. These photos I think are actually really cool. I really like these two. So there's this court here that I just thought was really interesting because it's just like these older tennis courts with like those mountains in the background. It's just like, are you kidding me? It just is this really cool juxtaposition between these natural hardened landscapes and then this kind of cosmetic human created thing that I really like and speaks to like a lot of the photos that I kind of just do in general. With golden light though, it would have been amazing. And then I got these guys on the hike down. This one's actually pretty good. Again, pretty harsh light. So you have this just like older red shack here. I'm really happy because I have a bad habit of doing this, that I took the time to make sure the tree was perfectly in frame. I can't even tell you how many times I've gone back to post and the tree is just like a little bit out of the frame line and it stings because it feels lazy. Whereas this, I at least took the time to do it and get it all in there. I just wish I gave it a little bit more breath. But again, I think a wider focal length would have just helped me here. Even 28 millimeter focal length, I think would have made this image come to life a lot differently. That's pretty much, that's day one. And those are kind of the best lessons learned I think I can share. I think there's a few key takeaways from a photography perspective. It's just take your time, be patient, take a breath, relax. Don't get flustered by all the tourists around you. You might be here again, but there's a very real chance that you will never be in this exact position again, like physically in that exact position. So take your time to get the photo right. You're going to regret it if you don't. I know I do in some of these. But then also, in the same breath, go easy on yourself. Let yourself be a tourist and forgive yourself a little bit, because unless you're doing stuff like this all of the time and trips like this all of the time, it's very easy to get caught up in just like the emotion of them, which, yeah, that's why we do it. That's what we're there for. Okay. Day 2 is an interesting one. Day 2, we hiked up to Oeschinensee, and this is a beautiful hike. There's 2 kind of things here. One, I knew I was going to propose that day to my girlfriend, now fiance. And 2, like from a photography perspective, and I don't know how this happened, my 50R got turned on in my backpack. I really don't think I left it on. Can't even really count that how many times I've ever done that, but it was on. So by the time we got up and I went to go take a photo, it was dead. I didn't get any photos on my 50R this day. The lighting wasn't even that great anyway. I don't think it would have been great for me, but I would have. I know, I would have liked to have been able to try. This day is when you realize you have to mix your personal life with your photography life. This day, in so many ways, was about me proposing to my girlfriend. This was about us. This was about this beautiful view. This was about us kind of sitting out and enjoying this landscape and me surprising her with a proposal. This wasn't about photography. So even though that part of the trip was removed, it was okay. And so after Oeschinensee, we were obviously very excited. We knew we wanted to like kind of go out and celebrate. So we took a train to a town called Bern, which I would have loved to have had more time to explore with my camera. This is where I actually felt like I got some actual really golden light. So this town is very fairy tale-esque. I feel like going there in the winter would look insane. It would literally look like the North Pole or like some form of like Christmas town. All the lights are very golden. Architecture is very like dreamy. And so this was where we just kind of spent an evening, and then we trained back to Interlaken later that night. So there's a few photos from there that are, you know, nothing amazing, but they're just kind of show that landscape a little bit. But that night again was more about the engagement and more like a celebration. The next day, this was our last day in Switzerland, pretty much like our last full day. So we slept in a little bit because we were tired. And then we went and did a hike on what's called Harderkolm. So this is right by Interlaken. So it was a very easy kind of morning to go do and have fun with. And so we went and did that hike. But again, conditions weren't great, especially for the type of photos I like to take. It was really cloudy, it was moody. There wasn't a lot of just like light beaming structures that I would have liked to photograph. And then after that, we hiked down, we got some lunch, and then we went and walked all the way over to Lake Brienze, which is a little bit further over and like the kind of less touristy part of Interlaken, if you will. And we went swimming in the water there. And honestly, other than the proposal, that was probably one of my highlights of the trip. You could walk in at any point, kind of lay your stuff anywhere and jump in the water and swim around. And it was like probably 50 something degrees, but it was like so cold and refreshing. It was like perfect. On that walk, though, to Lake Brienze is when we actually walked through what felt more like a locals area. And this walk was really cool, and where I started to get stuff that resonates with me a little bit more, where there's just like these older farmhouses or like these residential developments, these older homes or just unique looking homes to me. And that to me is where like I had the most fun. But as I think about these images here too, like you can see where there was like something good happening. This photo of the car, I do really like. Also a van like this just always makes me think of Good Kid, Mad City. So it's fun to photograph. But if this, like I missed the lighting here. Like if I was able to just sit around and wait, if we weren't kind of in a rush, like I would have waited for the light to come back out, because then there was some pretty harsh lines and shadowing that would have, I think, made this image a bit more interesting. But instead it just falls a little flat without it. But it's, you know, fine. This image, right, compositionally, I don't think there's anything amazing. The image flows in a way that you would want it to, but I just really liked these three buildings together, the brown, the yellow, and the blue. It just was really, really pretty, especially with this scooter right in front of it. But this is just an instance where I should have just walked forward and taken that image. I should have just tried to work the composition a little bit more. Again, now the sun comes out. This photo, in my opinion, is too harsh. The light is just way too direct. So it was like really, really tough to manage. This house in particular, I just thought was really cool. So I took a few shots here trying to get this. I just really liked this door, this green tarp that was kind of hanging, and this truck hidden behind it. So this image is too tight. I wish I was just further back. And so I kind of did that with this one, but then I changed the angle, and I wish I just like straightened that angle a little bit more. And then I think this would have been okay. But out of these ones, I like this one the best. It's composed in the most thoughtful way, in my opinion. And I think just like the grid line with the door on the right-hand side, you're kind of looking down this alley, like the colors on this one work the best, I think, too. And then that leaves us with a few more remaining photos and possibly some of the best. So this photo, I just love this orange building with this blue sign here. This reminds me of photos I used to take years ago when I would really crush my highlights and raise my shadows the entire way. So it was like an extremely flat image. These colors are reminiscent of that, but then it's more mixed with my like modern style, which is more contrasty and more, but it's just further back than a lot of the images I used to take. So you have this house, the Swedish flag, that building in the background, the road running down. I just think this one looks and works really well. And then this is like that spot of like sunshine that I said we kind of had for like a short little period of time. So the lake was right behind me. You had the sun hitting all these buildings. I tried to put together a few quick compositions with the light as I had it. So we just walked back, which kind of leaves us with this last image here. This was just one of a gas station. We were tired, we wanted to go home, but I just said to Niv, I was like, hey, if I don't get this one, I'm gonna be really annoyed. So I pulled out the tripod and set up so I can get a long exposure shot here. Because I knew that this is gonna be one that I was gonna wanna walk away with. It's a cliche, quintessential gas station shot, but I knew I wanted to get it. I love the colors on it, but I think it's just like a really cool, satisfying image to look at. So if we kind of like recap here, you have this image, this one, and then this one. Those are my top three. So just to kind of give you a little bit of like a view of what it is sometimes to be a photographer who's more of a hobbyist and that's doing this thing on their own. That's 114 photos, 3 of which I'd say are good. That's kind of my criteria. Is like I maybe would print it. Like I would print these 3 just to see what they look like. That's tough. Like if you're shooting, if that's like your win percentage, like that's not great numbers. But again, that's where I say go easy on yourself. We're not always out there and we're not always putting together a super cohesive body of work in one trip where just like everything you're getting looks good. And that's part of the learning lesson here. I'd say when I was in Italy, the sun was just like always hitting a golden level like so early, and it was so easy to turn things into beautiful photos. It was hard for me to get the softness that I wanted. But yeah, that'd be the extent of it. This was an amazing trip. I got loads of amazing video. I got to try out a new lens. I got to take some really cool photos. I got to see some of the most beautiful landscapes I've ever gotten to see. I got engaged, right? Like all wins all around. And we got, a few usable photos out of the trip. But I know this is a long one. Hopefully it's been interesting for you. Hopefully kind of taking you along this travel journey has been something cool for you to watch. And if you made it this far, I appreciate it more than you know. If you liked it, like it. Subscribe if you wanna. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.